Hey Dreamers! We're nearing the end of 2021, and I always like to look back on the year and see what my best and worst performers were. And I've got some doozies for you. Some of these stocks I rarely see talked about, so get ready for some new perspective. Without further ado, let's dig into my best and worst. Let's start with my absolute worst. As you can see here, I'm down over $10,000, or 24.56% with AT&T. Down 11% with relatively new position at T. Rowe. Target down 8%. Kraft Heinz down 7.8%. And Intel down 7%. Going on to my Fidelity, you'll see some repeat offenders here. Just like AT&T up here, I've got two positions down here. So down another $1,300 and $5,000 down in my Fidelity. And then we've got Artisan Partners, which is an asset management company, Medtronic, and also T. Rowe again. So overall with AT&T, I am down more than $17,000. And overall, with these bottom five in each account, I'm down $17,928. Moving on to the winners. In the TD account, I've got JP Morgan up 50%, Citizens Financial Group up 50%, IIPR up 51%, Ben, which is Franklin Resources, which you may recognize as a dividend aristocrat after about 40 years of dividend increases, and SJR, which is Shaw Communications, a Canadian telecom. It's my number one winner in the TD account. 60% up. And then down into the second account, I've got CFG again, Citizens Financial, Bank of America, IIPR. I've got Janus, which is a UK-based asset management group. And then you may know NVIDIA, which is one of the world's best chip makers. So here you can see the one that I've put the most bet on is IIPR. I am up over $30,000 with IIPR, and overall, these top five in each account are up over $68,000. So before we move on to whether I'm going to buy, sell, or hold all these positions, let me give you a little perspective on the two most controversial stocks that I have the biggest bets on, and that's T and IIPR. So if you're an AT&T shareholder, none of this is new to you. It's been a pretty brutal last 5 years. And T is down well over 40% in the last 5 years. This year has also been brutal. In May, it was announced that there would be a dividend cut in 2022 and a spinoff of Warner Media. And you can see the effects of that right here in May. So what's the problem? Well, there's a few problems. There's too much debt on the balance sheet. There's 5G that's being delayed, and there's a lot more investment needed to get 5G off the ground. But there's another thing happening here that I don't think people fully understand, and that's tax loss harvesting. Basically, folks have lost so much money on this particular investment that they're just deciding, I'm going to sell this stock and actually get some benefit back through a tax benefit. So I do predict that this will continue to go down the closer we get to the end of the year, and it's going to be brutal. But let's talk about the positives. So in 2022, when the dividend is cut, there's also going to be a special dividend that comes out. And it's going to be somewhere in the neighborhood of $5 to $8 a share. John Rhodes of Seeking Alpha recently talked about this in an article. So let's say that according to the board, we get $7 to $8 per share of AT&T stock. That would be equivalent to 4+ years of AT&T's current annual dividend. Now, given the recent share drop, even if we get between $5 and $6 per share, that's still a yield of somewhere between 22 and 27%. So there is some good news coming our way. Okay, let's switch gears. The big winner for me this year was none other than IIPR. And if you go to their website, they describe themselves as the leading provider of real estate capital for medicinal use cannabis. Guys, this is a great way to play the cannabis industry. Essentially, marijuana growers have been cut off from traditional finance just because of the legal haziness that we have in this country right now. So IIPR does sale leasebacks. What does that mean? Essentially, it's a type of real estate deal where a company with working property sells it to a buyer like IIPR, and then they promptly rent it right back to the seller. This is a win-win because the grower gets cash up front, and also IIPR gets the rental income. Now, IIPR IPO'd back in 2016, and since then they have steadily increased their number of new leasebacks and have grown their quarterly revenue by more than 1,000% over the last 3 years. Their dividend alone has expanded over 300%. And if you were late to the game, you still have made out well. As you can see here, just in the last few months, over 50% gain. So what does the future hold for IIPR? Well, there are some that worry that once marijuana becomes legal, that there'll be a lot more options and competitors in the space. And that may be true, but some believe that it will be highly unlikely for them to be without any new targets. In fact, it could be likely that there will be an even bigger audience for their services. Only time will tell. With all that said, what's my plan for 2022 in terms of all these positions? Will I buy, sell, or hold? Well, starting with the losers, my plan here is to hold on T. As you know, I'm going to wait for that special dividend. I'm going to hold T row. I'm going to buy Target when there's dips in the market, just because I think that's a very long-term, awesome growth stock. Kraft Heinz, not so hot on. I'm going to do a little more research and then see if I want to sell that one. And then Intel, holding for the long term. Same at the bottom with AT&T. Artisan Partners, they've had a little bit of a dip in assets under management, so I'm going to do more research there and then potentially add those guys to my sell list at some point. Hold on Medtronic, because I think we are going to have a return and an increase back to surgeries and things like that. And then T row is one of my forever stocks, so I'm a hold there. In terms of my winners, I'm going to be holding on JP Morgan, holding on Citizens. I'm going to be looking for those dips for IIPR. That is a growth stock. I don't think it's going to grow at the tremendous levels that we've seen over the last 5 years, but I do think it still has significant growth potential. So that's a buy on dip days, and keep some cash on hand. Then I'm a hold SJR. That's a forever stock. I'm a hold. And then Bank of America, hold. Janus, hold. And then NVIDIA is another one of those buys. It tends to be volatile day to day, week to week. So that's another one where I just wait for the dips and then I pick up a few more shares at a time. And that's my plan for 2022 on my best and worst stocks. How did you do in 2021? I'd love to hear about your winners and the losers in the comments. Hey, thanks for watching again, and subscribe for more regular videos on how to make passive income with dividends. I'd love to meet you. If you subscribe, leave a comment below saying I subscribe so I can thank you personally. And finally, remember, I'm not a financial advisor, so keep in mind these videos are for entertainment and inspiration only. I'll see you on the flip side.